Hey friends, it is football season, which means delicious game day party foods, and today I'm going to show you two great keto recipes. Keto recipe number one is for bacon wrapped stuffed jalapeno poppers. I have 6 large fresh jalapenos here. If yours are smaller, you might want to double the amount. I'm going to be using one 8-ounce block of full fat cream cheese, half a tablespoon of this Mrs. Dash's garlic and herb seasoning, one full package of bacon, and 8 ounces of breakfast sausage. I've also used Italian sausage in the past as well as hamburger. You can really change this recipe up as far as the seasonings and the meats to make it taste perfect for you. First thing I'm going to do is wash my jalapenos. I use this Dr. Bronner's Castile soap to soak my fruits and vegetables in. As you can see, I'm just mixing it in some water, giving it a little stir. I'll let those sit for a few minutes, stir them up again, and then rinse them off. I also really like crispy bacon, so I'm going to do a little pre-cooking of my bacon. If you'd like to skip this step, you absolutely can, and just wrap the bacon around the jalapenos once you have them stuffed. But again, I like a crispier bacon, so I'm going to cook this in the oven for 15 minutes at 425 degrees. Next, I'm going to brown the breakfast sausage so that that can begin to cool before I need to use that for the recipe. Giving the jalapenos a final splash in the bath, and then I'm going to rinse them off. Start chopping those up. I highly recommend that you wear gloves for doing this. I know someone once that was working with jalapenos in this way, and her hands ended up stinging for hours afterwards. So to avoid that, I've always just used gloves. I've cut all the jalapenos lengthwise, as well as taken the stems off and de-seeding them. If you want to spice up your poppers, you can leave some seeds in your mixture, your cream cheese mixture, to give it some spice and kick. This next step you can skip if you're making the recipe and baking it in the same day. I pre-made the recipe and then froze these, so that's why I'm doing this next step. Otherwise, just use the fresh raw jalapenos and stuff them and wrap them that way. Next, I mixed together the cooked crumbled breakfast sausage, 1 block of cream cheese, and a half a tablespoon of the Mrs. Dash's garlic and herb seasoning. I thought I was recording myself doing this, but evidently was not, so I apologize for there being no footage of that. But after making this cream cheese mixture, I'm now putting it into the jalapeno halves. Once I have each half stuffed with my cream cheese mixture, I'm going to take 1 slice of bacon per jalapeno stuffed half and wrap that around there. And I like to use a toothpick to hold the bacon in place because sometimes the bacon can kind of come loose as it's all cooking. At this stage, this is what the poppers look like, stuffed with the cream cheese mixture, wrapped with a piece of bacon, all held together with a toothpick and ready to bake in the oven. These will go into the oven at 425 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. If you're wanting to give the bacon a little extra crisp, you can also put them under the broiler for a few minutes when they're done baking, but make sure you watch them closely because they can burn pretty quickly. Because I am freezing these and not baking them on this exact day, I'm putting them into a Ziploc bag and we'll put them into the freezer. And then when I'm ready to bake them, I'll let them thaw and bake them as the recipe calls for. And I also made it a point to double the cream cheese mixture, which the other half I will put into the freezer as well and be able to use it for this recipe or some other kind of concoction that I might come up with somewhere down the road. Although I didn't bake the full batch on this day, I did set a couple aside that I made for my lunch to give you an idea of what they look like when they're all baked and ready to eat. Keto recipe number 2 is meatballs, and this recipe is so easy. It only has 3 ingredients. Ingredient 1 is 80/20 ground beef. This is a 2.25-pound package. Make sure you don't get the lean. You really want the fat ground beef. 1 cup of Parmesan cheese. I'm using this kind. You can use whatever kind you like. And 2 large eggs. I'm simply putting all of these ingredients into my mixing bowl and gonna mush it all together really well with my hands. This silicone meatball form that I'm using here is hands down my secret weapon to making a recipe like this go super quick. I'll leave a link down in the description below for the exact form that I'm using here. Now, you can always form your meatballs by hand. That's no issue. It just takes a little longer. So this form absolutely helps save on time. I also love that it makes every meatball the perfect bite size. And if you double or triple a recipe like this and have all of your meatballs preformed, it's something you can easily put in the freezer and then have a quick meal to grab. To save on cleaning time and effort, I'm using the same tray and rack that I baked my previous recipe on, and now my meatballs are ready to bake in the oven. This recipe is really great because it has a tasty but subtle flavor, so you can dress it up in so many different ways, like with marinara sauce and melted cheese or your favorite gravy. You could also make little bite-sized hamburger hors d'oeuvres by adding to the toothpick a pickle, lettuce, tomato, and then serve it with sugar-free ketchup and mustard. So many ways you can dress this up. And there you have it, 2 awesome and easy game day keto recipes.